You can just record it. Okay, so basically, like I was saying, that Loopback is built on top of Express, and it's the same company behind it, same people. Those who are actually main contributors towards Loopback is the strong loop. Strong loop is actually the group which has created Express and Loopback both. Now, a strong loop is acquired by IBM. So IBM is still supporting Loopback as open source like Express. Okay, that's their business model. So they always support open source and they build business out of it. So they have already converted another tool on top of Loopback, which is called Strong Loop. The name of the tool was Strong Loop, and they have converted it into IBM Connect. Okay, so they have already productized it. Okay, it's so wonderful. All right. So I'm just giving you obviously a a recap, quick recap. So we were discussing, like, why loop back, right? So we were saying, okay, time is the essence. We can save a lot of time, and how much? 1280 hours per year. Okay, this much you can save really. And if you see how big this time is, if you count for 10 devs and $20 per hour, it becomes $256,000. So it's beautiful and it's big. And these are the features. So I have highlighted some of the features here, like, if you see isomorphic model, powerful access control. So you don't have to go on each and API and see, whether you have already hooked in the access control properly. Admin can access that, or team member can access that, or owner can access that, or vice versa. So that is already built in. Authentication, authorization permissions are built in. And if you see the very clear, distinction between API server and the client code, you already have some client SDKs as well. So it can build, the client side code also for you. So these are the tools that you can still use. We would be using CLI based generators. The other visual generators have been acquired by IBM and they have converted into our product. You can use third-party login like Google login, or Facebook login, LinkedIn, and all that. And there are other features also, like push notification, and you can also create an OAuth server. So this is how you install. You just run npm install -g loopback CLI. That's the main part of it. And then depending on the need, you can install the core. Of course, core is the first thing, and then you can use the connectors to actually deploy this on your projects. Okay, so, and we were discussing about the API architecture, wherein the main part is model. Okay, and model can connect to any of the data source. Like it could be connected to Mongo, or it could be connected to MySQL, IBM, DB2, or Oracle, Microsoft SQL Server, or anything. Okay. So this abstraction layer is added on top of it, and which is called Loopback Data Source Juggler. I know you cannot read it, and that's why I'm reading it to you. And so here you can see the data sources, like this one is Loopback connector, MongoDB, Loopback connector, MySQL, and all that. Okay. So there is a huge community behind Loopback, and they have developed so many of connectors that you will definitely find one of them for your project need. Okay. And another good thing that you might want to know is that you can club things together. So at a time you can have MongoDB, MySQL, and Oracle, three of them together. Okay, and some data is getting processed in MySQL, some data in here. Or you can have two instances or multiple instances of MySQL. Okay, for example. So for example, some of the API is stored in MySQL, some of the APIs are stored in MongoDB, and that is how you can actually build the microservices. Okay. So, and that's why this is called one step ahead towards it. And then there are some additional components like services and integration. So services like, storage, push notification, passport, sync, offline sync. You can also build like mobile application, which is capable to store the data offline. And then later on, whenever there is a connection, it can just sync. Okay. So that is what the sync is. And on the other side, you have tools which can help you to develop your things. And then comes the gateway. So you have like Explorer, you have like, boot scripts, okay? And like materials and material. Angular material is actually a library. Okay, these tools are one which you install on your machine, okay, while development, but you will not push it on to deployment. Okay, they will help you to generate the code. Okay, in very simple way. Although they are not all of the same type, like strong arc is not really that type of a tool. Okay, and that will help you generate your application. Okay, and then you can build an API endpoint. Okay, that API endpoint can be connected by various different type of clients, and Loopback actually provides you the different type of client SDKs. All right. So we'll run a quick fast here, and this is how again, uh, the express routing and then custom controls like access controls, and then some validation also come into the picture, and then data access, right? So you can access your data using create, update, join, read, query, okay, and then these are the data sources, MongoDB, MySQL. So you can also actually use the third-party services. Like suppose somebody has got a REST service, okay, let's say for example, GitHub, okay, you want to connect your data from the GitHub thing, right? Then you can use GitHub's REST-based services and hook on as a data source to your model. All right. Okay, this is a deep dive, and we have learned how to create an app first of all. So you have to just install that CLI that I've told you in the installation part, and then you have to run this command, and then it will ask you some questions like, the name of the application, name of the directory, and the version, and what type of application, and then it will do some of the things, and then, automatically, and then it will create an application. Correct, yes. So if you want to see here, this is an application that we have developed last time. So when we develop, client is always empty. There is nothing here like www is not there. And then in the common models, there is nothing here. Okay. And when you actually have, you will have all these files here. All these are JSON files, as you can see, apart from server.js. These all are configuration files. All right. This is what it is going to generate. Package.json is for npm, so you can actually run npm install. Automatically, it will also do, but suppose it breaks up in between, then you can do it. And these all are different type of configuration. There's a boot directory also. You can put startup scripts into it. So suppose you want to hook in, let's say you want to auto migrate your data, then you can just put into boot. Anything that you put into boot will be automatically, executed as soon as server starts up. All right. In client, you can put your client side code. Okay. This is how you can add a data source. So when you say LB data source, you'll see LB data source, and then it will ask the name, and then you can put the type of connector. So like I was saying that you can have, any type of database. So this is asking like which type of database you want. I have selected MySQL that time, and then you have to put in the parameters like for this database, where it is hosted, what is the port, username, password, and what is the database name. Okay, and then it will ask you to install a supported connector. So for MySQL, we have a connector, Loopback connector, MySQL. If you say yes, it will install it. Okay. Then this is what you get. Actually, this gets added into this data sources.json file. And this is how you access. So model and connectors. There is a link in between called data sources that you're generating. And then you can actually connect any kind of databases. All right. And then you create your models. That's the third step. So first step is installing app. Second is data source. Third step is model. Yeah. So here we have actually created model called coffee shop, and it has asked like what data source you need, and then do you want what type of base class you need. Okay. So there are multiple of base classes. Okay. So not every time you are creating models. So suppose using LP model, you are creating a role, new role. Okay. Then also you can create it with LP model. You can create a new role, and then you can choose the base class as role. Okay. Role, suppose you want to create a new role to your application, right? For authentication. Oh, sorry, for authorization. So this is model. Okay, this is the name of the data source, and this is the base class. And then it will ask you whether you want to expose it as REST API or not, because not everything is going to be exposed to the world. Okay, then you can say yes. And then where you want to put it, is a common or server. So common means that it would be isomorphic, which means the client can also access it and server can also access it. Otherwise, you can put it into a server only format. So it will create a directory accordingly and will put into the server only. Okay, and this is how it will create two of these files, and these were those files actually. Coffee shop JS. I've just put in a new validator here, but otherwise it will be empty totally. And this is how your model will look like. As soon as you finish model, it will ask you about the properties. Okay, so I'm sorry. Here, as soon as you finish model, it will ask you for the properties. Okay, and obviously, and in the model, we want to specify that, let's say this is a coffee shop. We want to specify name and address. Okay, so it will ask you like what is the name of the property and what type of the property it is going to be, whether it is going to be required or not required, if there is any default value. Okay, it will ask you everything, and then you can put in, and then it will generate these properties here. And apart from this, everything here would be empty, like relation would be empty and ACL would be empty. I mean, this is going to be like this, ACL empty, and relations is going to be like this. Okay. So this is what I have added later on, and this is how it looks like now. Okay. So once you added model, ready. You can start the server putting node dot in place, and you can just go to this link and you can see your Swagger like this. All right. So what you have done is you have added a data source, which is one-time activity, created a application, which is also one-time activity. But as soon as you created a model, your API is ready, and that is the beauty of Loopback. So, and then you can put some auto migrate and auto update scripts. Okay. So as soon as you do this part, right, your model is ready, but it's not yet connected to the data source. I mean, it's connected to the data source. The data source is not connected to DB. So what you have to do is you have to auto migrate your data source to DB. So once you do the auto migration in the DB, it will be, there would be some tables or documents created according to the DB. And then the connection will happen. So for that, you need to put up an auto update or auto migrate scripts. Okay, let me show you how they look like. So in the boot directory, there is a script here. Okay, this is going to be your auto migrate script. Okay, you can put auto migrate here rather than auto update, then it will become auto migrate script. Auto migrate will automatically migrate your data sources to the DB, which means every time it will create a new model, new table. Okay, it will drop the previous one, so you will lose the data. So it should be advisable only once. When you are running, you can do auto migrate. Okay, and every other time you should put in auto update, because then you don't want to lose your data, right? So this is how they are different. And this is about next session, which is now. And no thanks. Okay. So let's exit from here and let's jump to the second one.
I just had one question here. In the first few slides, you said that there will be significant cost reduction, like $50,000.
Right.
How does that happen? I mean, these things are also provided by .NET Framework.
Yeah, but if you work out of Express, right? Then in Express, you have to work on each and every model. You have to create everything by your own. So suppose you have to create a one particular API for coffee shop, right? It would have find, it would have create, update, save, right? All the CRUD operations. Apart from that, also, if there is anything remote that you want to add, right? So obviously, Loopback is not going to add the remote logic, because you may never know. According to the application, there would be a separate logic, right? But most of the times it is CRUD that we are doing, right? Most of the times. So what is happening is in each and every application when we are putting in place, the CRUD API in itself takes time. Okay. Each and every API would take at least 2 to 3 days, right? All the CRUD application for one entity. And then you have to put in access control, and then you have to put in auto login, and then all that stuff. Obviously, that would take time. So what I have calculated is that out of 3 months of a project, you would be doing 2 months of this thing and 1 month of your remote logic, right? Which is like special logic for your own application, right? So 1/3 of your time is going into special logic and 2/3 of your time into the boilerplate. So the loopback is going one level ahead of Express and giving you all that functionality of the shell, so that you can concentrate only on the special logic. So cutting the 2/3 of the time out of the year, which means it gives you, this much time, and that is how you calculate the cost.
So when you are saying that the cost will reduce, then you are comparing it with Express, not with other.
Even .NET does not give you all the CRUD operation by default. No. So if you put in entity framework, right? Entity framework asks you to put in those REST API controllers in place, right? And this is automatically building it, right? So right now the cost that I have, calculated on the base of Express versus Loopback. Obviously, if there is anything in between, the cost reduced would be lesser, but again, there would be a cost reduction, right? Another thing is that those who are interested in Node.js based environment, they would not opt for .NET, right? Okay.
When we started the server, and lobby was 3000 Explorer, when we opened it, we got a UI saying all the operations post, delete, and are we, providing the what do you call client-side coding for the just generating by yourself?
Yes. So today we are going to talk about client-side coding also. So today we are going to talk about 3 items. One is the authentication and authorization, and second is how to run and debug. Majorly debug, because you know always how to run. And then third one is your client-side SDK, which is especially for Angular. It also has got iPhone native SDK and Android native SDK, but we are putting away from it, saying that okay, we'll use hybrid and all that SDKs. Those are actually based on Angular. Okay. All right. So have you already tried implementing? Of course, this slide is a waste now. Okay. Protecting data from unwanted requests. This is what your access control does, right? So, so how do you implement access control in Loopback? There are a few concepts that you should know. One is that principle, because the access control in Loopback is not very, very tight bound. You can extend that as well, right? So suppose tomorrow you don't, your application can have multiple hierarchies and they are so big and the roles are fluctuating every now and then. Obviously, they are not going to fit in the defined roles, right? Defined principles, I would say. And that's why you may need to extend this access control logic, right? And that's why it is not really tight bound and very tightly coupled to each and everything. So you can extend, these are also defined models over there as a model. So you can extend these models and you can build your own custom. Yeah, not only roles. Let's look at the concept. So one is the principal. Principal is any entity that can be identified. Okay, whether it is like user, application, or even role, for example. Okay, so role is also one of the principles, but application, user, and other things are also principles, right? What type of roles? Like what is a role? First of all, it's a group of principles, of course. Okay, which means that everyone, which is a defined constant here, is everyone is not only every user, but suppose every application is also meant by everyone, right? So when I say everyone, dollar everyone means everyone, anything, right?
Any
Third party application can also access. It's live on the internet, then anyone can access it, right? It has to just ping in the URL, it will get the data. Unauthenticated. There is a difference between everyone and unauthenticated. So there is a very slight difference that when you are not authenticated, but you are still a defined user. Okay, that is unauthenticated. Okay, and then you have owner. So owner is slightly more than this. So owner is obviously has to be authenticated user. Secondly, owning that that model, that entity. Then there could be other static roles also. Like I can define an admin role. Okay, for example, I can define team member role, team manager role, right? So that could be static role. I can define any type of role. Okay. And when I define the custom role, obviously I can pick up any one of these entities, or I can create my own entity also. Okay. Then access control list. So this list actually governs that what all the operations of a model would be accessible to whom. Okay. So, but how it is done? Like it says, deny everyone to access a model. Okay. Or allow admin role to find the project. Find is the operation. Okay. So it's actually doing a mapping, and that is what we call role mapping, the process of assigning principles to role. Okay, that is what role maps.
What role can access what part of the application?
Right, correct. And you can do it as much as method level of each and every API. So you can say, okay, find of this API can be accessed by everyone, and then only admin can actually create new data for this.
So when you say at any stage, is it going to have some life cycle kind of methods or something?
Not really life cycle kind of a method, but you can have kind of an attribute to the methods. Okay, to a model and to the methods. Okay. All right, so this is what I have put in that, okay, if you test without access control, let me just run this test here. Probably would be. All right, so what I have to do is I have to run the application. Okay, I will run it here. I will send a dot. And then see here, I already have the auto migration script, right? So it is already migrating everything. I'm just taking this, and this is how your that said UI will look like. Obviously, I've added a new model here. Review message was there earlier and coffee shop. Okay, and so in coffee shop, if you see, I have added access control already. So let me just remove that. So I have the access control here. Okay. So I'm just going to remove it. Okay. Okay. So let me just restart my server because I've changed the configuration. The server restarted. Here, if you see like this get, okay, you just say try out, it will give you the data here. All the coffee shops that I've created, okay. So this is what I wanted to run through, and probably you can say post, and then here, click on this, and I can say that coffee cafe, okay. And then here I can say Whitefield, Bangalore.
This sort of platforms are already there, right? Which allows us to test the APIs.
Which are there as in?
I don't remember the name.
This is Swagger.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
So this is a common thing.
This is a common thing, but you have to add Swagger to your documentation. I mean, as a documentation platform, right? And you have to put in comments in place so that you can actually build Swagger documentation around it. But if it is done automatically, it is saving your time, right? So this is not like we are doing an invention here, but lot of things clubbed together, given to you as a platform so that you can save your time. That's the only essence. Okay, there is no miracle going on here. So as soon as you run, you can see that you have added a new item here, ID 8. You can run get again, and you can see this here. Okay. Now let's set this access control. So how to do this? You can just run lvacl. lvacl is another generator. Okay. Let me show you how it works. I'm stopping the server for a minute. lvacl. When I say lvacl, it will ask you all existing model or specific model. Okay. So suppose I say coffee shop, and then now it is asking how much control you want. Like, do you want to put it on all methods and properties, or you want to put it on a single method? So right now, see, you need to understand how the access control works. The priority is that first of all, if there is any deny rule, okay, then deny rule will be executed first, and then allow rule would be executed. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to deny all methods. Okay. No access to anything. And then I will allow the specific methods. Okay. Specific, like, could be find or create, something like that. Okay. And so that's why I'm saying all methods here, and I'll say all match all types, and I would say all user, and I would say explicitly deny access. Okay. When I say this, my file is changed. It has added this access type asterisk, principal type role, principal ID everyone, permission deny. You can go ahead and edit this file manually also. Okay. Again, lvacl again. And this time I'm going to, okay, let me just stop it here. Let's run the server again. And let's see whether denial has actually applicable or not. I mean, applied or not. You can see now the get is not working. Okay, and here on the console also you can see the same error because it's in development right now. If you put it on production, you will not see all these. Now I'm going to say coffee shop, single method name is fine because gets are all fine. And then I'll say all user and explicitly grant access. Okay. Now again, okay, I need to run the server. Okay, I'm sorry, this is get, and here you can see it, okay, and this is post actually. So even if with this, it's not going to work. So the complaint it makes is for no one. Okay. So you have to explicitly allow that who actually can do and what. Okay. Okay. So this is what I wanted to say that. Okay, let's see what is the change in file. When you said find, explicitly allow everyone, right? So find is allowed, but all other methods are denied. Okay. So you can say, okay, the create method should be allowed to only authenticate it then. Okay.
So in this permission allow and principal ID everyone, you have given only single property. Fine. You can give multiple properties also here, right? Like fine.
No. No, you have to put in yourself that how many you want. Okay. Yeah. So before I jump onto that, we need to see how this will work. Okay. Even if I put authenticated here, right? I don't know how to authenticate my user, right? So let's put in first, let's say authenticate LVACL again, coffee shop, a single method, name create, any authenticated user, explicitly grant access. Okay. So obviously my file is going to change and this third block is come. And if I run the server here and I take you to browser, I refresh. Obviously find is working. You can see find is working, but post is not going to work. Let's say new shop again. Okay. I don't know the address. Okay. And then I say try out. We'll say authorization required. Okay. So still it's not working because I'm not authenticated on this, right? There is a mechanism in Swagger to authenticate. You can put in access token here. Okay. For that, you can go to user model and you can log in here. Okay. If you put login, if you can log in, then you will get access token, which you can put here and you can actually access that method. Okay. Now you should know the user, which are already existing, or you should create a user. Okay. So there's a post method here for users. You can do that. I just wanted to show you. Not here. Wow. Select asterisk. So we have only one user, which is admin. Okay, and I forgot the password here. I don't know. So let me just create a new user. Ream is like separating your users. Okay, so you can use Ream, and then obviously this can tell you which app it belongs to. But this is a logical. It's not actually on the code that you can do it, but it's very logical entity. Okay. And then email verified is doesn't matter here because every new user you put in, the email would be by default not verified. Okay, even if you put email verified true, it will not believe you. It will mark it as not verified. Okay, so I'm putting in username, email, and password, and I say try out. If it says yes, good, then you can use this guy and go to login and put in credentials, what, email. Oh, of course, because Swagger does not like, it's in proper JSON format. And then of course the password, obviously here you have to disclose. There is no password field here as such, because this is only for test. Then you say this, if it gets access, it will give you access token, which you can take here and set it here. If you say enter, it is a token set, right? Once token set, it will remember it, okay? It's putting in some local storage somewhere. We are not bothered about get. Yeah, we are bothered about create. If I hit this now, it is going to create. Okay. So your APIs are all sensitive towards ACL, and they are properly implementing access control. Okay. Okay, we have verified with access control. It becomes like that, and then this is how you create a user. Okay, you use this post method to create a user, and then you can log in using your credentials. Okay, I just wanted to cover it up in the slides, and then you can take up this access token and put in the token access input. Access token input, and once it is set, you can actually access the API. This slide is actually telling you how to create your own custom roles. Okay, so this is a boot script, which means in the boot folder you can create a JS file, and obviously your script should have module.exports function, and inside it, whatever you do, it's your logic. Okay, so this whole thing is what it is trying to do is it's making sure that it is creating a user. Okay, these three users they are creating, and then and then once it calls back with the user's parameter, of course, then it creates the rules. Okay, creates the roles and uses principal ID as one of the users from here and mapping it to user. Okay, right. Once this role is created, this role is called admin. Okay, right now it has got only these principals, as in only one guy who is the 012 Bob. Bob is going to be admin in this case. Okay, but you can later on keep on adding people to admin group. Okay. Alrighty. One more thing, probably we haven't checked here. See, we have created a new user, but still it has got only one user here. How? That's what we have covered yesterday. So basically here there are two data sources, right? One is by default, which is in memory. Another is MySQLDB. Okay. My user, if you see the model config, the user is actually mapped to DB data source, which is in memory data source. It's not mapped to MySQL. If it had been mapped to MySQL like coffee shop, it would have persisted in the MySQL. So as soon as my server is running, it's there. But as soon as server is off and you restart, your new user will not exist. Okay. All right, I just wanted to show you here the coffee shop thing. Just to show you that at least coffee shop is persisted here, right? Okay, so this is about custom role. You got to know about it, right? Any question on ACL? So, okay, one thing that I would like to tell you more about it, how you get to know about this, what is find and what is create, because your APIs are not going to tell you, right? So if you look at this also, you will not get to know because they are not mentioning any function here. Get is mapped to find and post is mapped to create. Do you know about it? What you can do is you can just go to persistent model, because what when you have created the model, you have based it on persistent model. You can see the persistent model class. Persistent model class, as it suggests, see, you can see that it's going into node modules, loopback, lib, and persistent model. So loopback framework is installed as a node module, and this persistent class, actually persistent model class, is there in the loopback class, loopback framework. Okay, you can anytime go over there and see over there, you know, how save is mapped to create, how update is mapped to absurd. Okay, absurd with where replace or create, find or create. In fact, replace or create, you can see it here also. Replace or create, right? Find one. Okay. Yeah, these are special scopes. So you can also create your scopes, which would not be there in persistent model. So exists and find by ID. So you can see that, you know, how they are mapping the calls with this guy, right? Which function is actually responsible, right? And then you can put the name over there. Okay. If you don't put the name of the function, then it would be applicable to all functions actually. You can just omit it from here. Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah. So these top 5, actually, I have created my own route, and they will help you to put in the most common route if you have, and they are not getting covered in regular CRUD operation. Let's say for top 5, so you can create your scope here. Scope, okay, and you can say top 5, and then you can put your query, right? So I said limit 5 and order by name. If I run top 5, it will be ordered by name and give you the 5 out of the list. If you want to define a remote method which is more than this, then also loopback will not leave you in between. You can go ahead and define remote method. I just want to show you that here. So I have, in this project, we have discussed it earlier actually in the previous session. This is a function. Okay. This particular model is responsible to create a project, and sometimes project actually has to be cloned from Git repository. Now cloning from Git repository and running npm and buffer on top of it is not a CRUD operation, any of the CRUD operation, right? So you have to create a remote method, your own logic. So you can put in your own logic in the model file itself, and the function can be exposed as remote method. Okay, and then you can also tell that, you know, whether it's accepting what type of parameter. So see here, I'm expecting a project object. I mean any JSON object which should have some of the property like name, git path, something like that. Okay, so I'm saying I'm expecting project as in the name of the argument, and type should be object, and it should come as source, should be the body of my request. Okay, and what I would return, success as boolean, true or false. Okay, so I can declare my remote method this way. Okay, good. Let's jump to this. Any question in between? No. So I'm hoping there's no one on. Oh, there are.
There are 4, 5 people.
Okay. So any question on Zoom participants? Can you turn on the sound?
If I turn it on, then
You can do unmute or
No,
unmute or whatever.
it's about
no,
the
it's
speaker.
okay. Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Any question from the Zoom participants?
Murli, Siddhi,
Murli, Sudhir, and I don't know,
and Blood Coach.
implied points.
Vishwan.
Only unmute works. Mute doesn't. Okay.
So, yeah, something.
1700.
No question? Okay, let's proceed.
Harsha Geo. Is it in there?
Very good. Okay, next is debugging. Obviously, when you're working on server-side logic, most commonly you don't run step by step. Okay, you will put in a lot of logs in place, and then you want to see how my application is behaving, and then you figure out the issue out of the logs, right? So logs are very friendly debugging tool. So how to open log? And then obviously you don't want to ship all the logs onto, right? So there are some of the ways that you can actually debug on Loopback. Okay. Again, Express.js fails here. So you have debug strings. So you can put in debug strings, and then Loopback will actually turn on logs only on those modules. Okay. So what you have to say on the command prompt, you can say debug and the pattern. Okay, and then you can say space and node dot. Obviously, this will work in Mac and Ubuntu, but not in Windows. So in Windows, you have to say set debug equals to this, and then you have to say node dot. Okay. So for example, this debug loopback colon data source, and then node dot. So this is a module name. So whatever is happening in the data source module would be logged automatically. Okay, automatically. You don't have to do anything. It will be automatically logged. You can also put wildcard like asterisk oracle. Okay, and you can also exclude. So you can say asterisk all, but strong remoting. So hyphen in the start will actually subtract it, exclude it. So you can exclude and say strong remoting should be excluded. Okay. So this is how you can run a debugger. So let's try to see it here. Debug, and I would put loopback data source. Okay, so you can say loopback data source dot, and then obviously you need to run something. Okay, so because initially also I'm putting some migrations in place, so a lot of things are happening here. Let's see. This is how we have started. Okay, so these are the settings that it has turned on. Okay, so name db debug true, because we had two connectors, two data sources, right? And this is running out this, and then migration, and this is handshake, which is happening in between the data source and actual DB. Okay, so this is the handshake. All the packets are coming in and out, and now we can run our query probably here. and we can say get because it is
Want
free.
to refresh the page?
Oh, it's okay. You don't have to refresh every time. You haven't changed anything on the client, right? You don't have to. Okay. So when you say get, you can see the packets are coming in with the data. Okay. And you can see these logs and you can probably figure out any issue. Okay. And the good part is that you can turn in and off on the module level. So it will automatically log. You don't have to go and put a lot of console logs and then remove them again. All right. So this is a format. You can say put module and then you can put area. So we have said loopback and then we have said data source. We can also put in file name if you want. So like the example, loopback security access contacts. Access contacts is a JS file in again loopback security module. All right. So you can put module and the area and the file name, and it will only give you the logs for which belong to that file. Okay. And there comes strong error handler. So strong is always prefixed because they have the name of the company as strong loop. So they have some of the modules as strong, okay, which are coming as tool. Okay. This you can install using npm install, and you can say strong error handler. It will get installed accordingly. And there's also in two modes. One is production and another is debug. So production mode will always, give you the nice and clean responses, right? It will prevent all the sensitive information from passing through. In debug, you can see every other thing in the output logs.
So before whatever we debug and then loop back.
Okay. So that was like logs which have been turned on by default. And here you can actually put your console logs.
Oh.
And it will actually take up those logs and will show you, but in case of debug only. In case of debug mode, yeah. In case of production mode, it will just omit all of the things. And there are some other things also. In case of production mode, it will rip off your 500 errors, 500 something errors, right? And 400 something errors. It will not give you each and every detail of those errors because those are the errors which you are not producing, right? Yeah. They are not custom errors. They are like 500 internal server errors. Looking at this, you will not have any clue that what is happening, right? Yeah. So if you install this, it will give you all those errors which are generated by the loopback framework itself. It will give you in-depth knowledge of the error so that you can catch it and understand why it is happening. Logs are different and errors are different. Okay. Logs are like logs for each and everything, but errors are only errors, specific errors. Okay. Okay. Configuration is easy. You can put this into the server middleware JSON. You can use this hook. These are middlewares. By the way, this is again how loopback is actually excelling over Express. And you can just say strong error handler params debug false log true. Okay, or you can say debug true or log true or whatever combination. All right, then it will start giving you both or one of them. So this is how it will look like. So if it is debug false, then it will look like this. Okay, if it is debug true, it will look like this. You understand the difference? Yes. And you definitely don't want to disclose all this information to a user on the production, right? Okay, here again, so you will see the name and the message which you can show over there in the code, right? You can understand what is going on. Any question on debugging? Okay, good. So we are on the last part. Is there any question from Zoom participants?
Hi, Devinder. Hello?
Just a minute. Just a minute. Okay. Yeah. Carry on.
Yeah, Devendra, this is Murli here.
Yeah, Murli.
One question I was having, can we implement dependency injection by using the loopback framework?
Dependency injection on which side, like client side or the server side?
Client side.
Yeah, this is what we are going to cover in the next session of it, the Angular SDK.
Okay.
And probably you can ask your question again if that is not covered. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Thanks, Devendra.
Good. Okay, good. All right, so let's move in. Angular SDK, actually it's not giving you ready-made application on Angular, okay, but it is giving you the access of the APIs into the Angular application, okay. So everybody knows that in Angular we have services as factory or providers, okay. So when you generate out of loopback, it will give you services as factory. Factory service will get generated. You can include that in your Angular application and you can query that service to get your data. Okay, so let's see.
So it provides you services.
Yeah. So install the loopback Angular SDK. Obviously, every other thing is getting started with installation. Why? Because loopback is very modular, very modular. Like you have seen that for error handler also you have to install and then only it will start, right? And configurations are very easy. They have created a lot of 4-5 JSON files. You can just configure out of them the whole application and it will start functioning. Okay, so the first command is to install your CLI, okay, for loopback SDK Angular, and then you can run this command lb-ng, and the next parameter is going to be your server script. So you never know from where you are running this command, but because this is globally installed, you can run it from anywhere, but you need to reach out to the path of your server.js file, okay? And then you need to put relative path where you want to install the service. And you can also change the name here, okay? Anything could be the name. But these directories should exist in. So I have put in a very common thing that you might want to do. Like in client, we don't put everything as separate JS file. We want to put it in under www, a JS folder and the services, like how we put in a regular Angular application. Okay. Once you do this, let's do it. So I'm where? I'm in the root of my project here, right? So I can just say lvng. I have already installed it, of course. So server.js, and then I can say client. I might have a little bit of Leo, and then JS, and then services, and then I can say lv services.js. Okay. When I do this, it will create that file. Okay. And if there is any error, it will tell you in the start of it actually. Okay. So here I'm seeing a warning, but that's okay. I don't want to expose the access token by remoting. I understand this. All right. Okay. So let's see how the file looks like. Okay. Obviously it would be big and there. So if I see in client www.js services, I have LB services here. All right. What all models we have? We had coffee shop, review, user, and message, right? So you will see the loopback resource, first of all, about users, okay? And these all are for users. You can access any of these, update by access token or
Windows 2 for
create.
documentation.
Documentation too is there. Most importantly, functions like create. So you can say user.create and it will automatically map your things to here. All right. And by the way, it is not telling you the function that it is using, but yeah, so you can see those here somewhere in the end. Okay, this is a special method called get current. Okay, it's not going, it's actually telling you which is the current user. Okay, and it's also putting in loopback auth in place, and you can inject it into the Angular application and you can get current user ID from there. And it also has got local storage inbuilt here. So I just want to show you that here. No. Yeah, so this is the loopback resource which is actually getting injected. And these all are related to coffee shop, right? Even top 5 is also have come here. Okay. So everything related to coffee shop is here. Let me go to the end. Coffee shop, review, everything is here. So you can just inject it and you can start working on it. And here is what I was telling you about local storage. So it actually stores the data and loads the data from local storage as well. Okay, you can see that. It's actually puts into the local storage also if you want. If you don't want to, then it will just not do it. Not doing anything from its own. Okay. So let's see.
JS files, everything JSON is in our hands. We can write custom methods and all this.
Right. So you should not ideally run, put in the custom method here because this is an HTTP service going directly to the loopback APIs. So if you want to put a server-side remote method, you should put into the server-side code. If you want to put a remote method onto, not remote, local method onto the client side, you can probably create another service and put it over there. Okay, this is how you can, so basically this, as you have seen that it's based on Angular resource. So you might want to run this command if you are using Bower as your Angular dependency. You can say Bower install Angular resource. Okay, that's important. And this is how you can actually put in. So you can add, first of all, the generated JS file in the application, index.html, and then register LB services module into your application, right? The main application. And then in anywhere you can inject, like in this controller, I want to use user, right? So we know that user was one of the model. So you can safely assume that once you have injected your module here, user would be one of the factory which is exposed by loopback resource. Okay. So you can use user and then directly you can say user.login, pass the credential and a callback function for success and one for error. And that's it. So your APIs are there in your Angular. All right, directly. What else you can do? You can actually query the related method. Like assume coffee shop has many reviews. Okay. So for example, here I have actually removed, no, not here. So I have a relation of review. So coffee shop have many reviews, right? So what I can do is I can actually say coffee shop.query, okay? And I can say filter include review. If I say this filter, then every coffee shop that it returns and the corresponding reviews for all the coffee shops would be there in that object by default. So you can see in the Swagger also here. So if I say get coffee shop, then I get only coffee shop, right? But if I put my filter as include review, not reviews, review, because the name of the relation is review. Okay. And then I say try out. Oh. Why no content? Am I saying something wrong? No. Time is up.
Sorry.
Time is up already. Okay, I think my survey is not on. Okay, now let me say it. So you see that every coffee shop object has got a review object. That's another thing is that I don't have reviews for each and everything. Okay. And that's why I cannot see them here. But if there is a review, then I can see it over here. Okay. All right. Or create a new review like that. So you can say coffeeshop.review.create. And then you can pass the ID of the coffee shop because you are relating to things. Yeah. Okay. And then you can pass the review. I mean, the parameters for a new review object. So the review object has got name to put in comments here. I put in the name again, but yeah, that's also fine. So you can just put the name in the comments, and then this is your review object that you want to create on the server. And then we create a review object and assign it to coffee shop with this coffee shop ID. Okay, this is how you can actually create a new review. You can directly create a new review also, and then later on add it to coffee shop. But that's not a good idea because then you have to put two columns, right? In this case, you have to put only one column. So you are saving server traffic. Okay, so that's the end. So is there any question? Okay, Murli, you still have that question?
No, Devendra. One more question, Devendra. What is the Angular framework version this Loopback is using?
So Loopback is not telling you any version specific stuff, but yes, it's using Angular resource. You have to create Angular resources. The version of Angular resource can be according to the Angular that you want to use. But right now, it's 1.x, version 2. So that is how it is.
Okay. So it is compatible with Angular latest version also?
Latest version is in
2.2.
No, it's not compatible to that.
Okay.
And I am not using it. So probably you can check it out.
Okay. Okay. Thanks, Devendra.
Okay. Any other question? Okay, good. So, all right. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Devendra.